Trump and DOGE's use of law enforcement in order to take over and dismantle the United States Institute of Peace was just called illegal and null and void by Judge Howell. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. As we know, Trump tried to dismantle the United States Institute of Peace, ironically, of course, because he is not doing what he said to stop the Ukrainian war on day one. The Gaza war is still going on. The India and Pakistan seem to be breaking out into war. The budget basically giving more bombs as they are cutting healthcare to our children. Peace seems more needed than ever. The United States Institute of Peace was created during the Reagan administration. It was created by Congress, and it's both private and government sourced, private money and government money. And because of that, it is not an executive branch agency like so many of the other agencies that Trump and DOGE also tried to cut. This one is very unique. It's not part of the executive branch at all. It's almost like a think tank in its operation because of the fact that it receives private money as well, and because of the fact that it exercises no executive power at all. It is really a think tank in that it is research and training and policy all focused on peace. And what happened? Well, DOGE tried a very aggressive, the opposite of peace, using law enforcement in order to gain access to trespass onto the property. And Judge Howell, over 100 pages, this order is over 100 pages, detailing the level of lawlessness, the use of force of the power of these federal and local police officers to try to gain access. He goes in detail about it. Essentially, what happened was first, we have, DOGE just trying to get into the office back in March 14th specifically, DOGE tries to get into the office, and DOGE tells them that you cannot get into this office. We've spoken with our counsel and you have no legal right to entry. So they denied entry. And instead of DOGE, of course, going through the lawyers, processing whether or not they had legal rights to it, they instead enlisted agents from the FBI, and they went with agents to the FBI again to try to get into the USIP headquarters. Again, they were denied entry by USIP. But what does DOGE do? Then with the FBI, they go ahead and they enlist the newly installed chief of the criminal division of the DC U.S. Attorney's Office in order to take control of the USIP premises. They try to go and reach a security official at the home in order to try to figure out how to gain access to the building without getting any details from that security official. They then went to the chief security officer of USIP, Colin O'Brien, in order to figure out the USIP security procedures. The FBI agent, knowing, had already been communicated about the fact that they are not being allowed entry based on legal advice from their attorneys. The USIP is independent, and so therefore they do not have legal access. The FBI still continue to try to get access. And in fact, this O'Brien, the head, the security chief, was threatened that he was going to be, quote, the subject of an investigation by the Department of Justice into the incident that took place at USIP on Friday. That incident was when they were denied entry, when DOGE was denied entry. So here they are now threatening the security officer for not giving them access to the building. So the DC USAO criminal division chief became involved then on Sunday, calling the outside counsel in order to seek access to the building and resources. And they stated, quote, a suspicion that USIP may be engaging in criminal behavior, end quote. So because they were not getting their way with all of them, using the force of the FBI, trying to gain entry. They are now making claims and threatening that they are engaging in criminal behavior, basically using the power of the DOJ, weaponizing it in order to threaten people to allow them access to a building that they were not allowed access. I've gotten slightly obsessed with using this Go Pure Neck Tighten and Lift Cream because I've been using it not only on my neck in this area, which definitely needs some good hydration, but on my hands because that's also been feeling really dry lately and my typical lotions haven't been working. This is both really creamy, but doesn't just sit on my skin. It feels like it's actually working. And evidently, that's why Go Pure Beauty developed their revolutionary Tighten and Lift Cream, powered by clinically proven active ingredients. This advanced formula is designed to visibly firm, smooth, and rejuvenate the delicate skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. Because here's the thing, the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate, and less oily than facial skin, meaning it requires specialized care. Go Pure's firming complex targets the unique concerns of the neck while nourishing and strengthening your skin for a more lifted, youthful look. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off Go Pure with code MISTRIAL at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com mistrial. Use code mistrial and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was from our show. With over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off Go Pure with code mistrial at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com, use code mistrial, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was from our show. The DC USAO official, after already threatening them about the criminal behavior, called again on Sunday to say he was requesting that representatives for Secretaries Rubio and Hegseth be able to inspect books and counsel. And the outside counsel informed that official that he would be happy to facilitate such access upon a formal written request, which then the official said to them back that the unnamed representatives of Secretary Hegseth would be at the USIP headquarters building the next day and would expect access to the USIP information systems. So here is this Institute of Peace, right? This think tank, privately and funded by the government. Now, having been threatened by the DOJ, having the FBI at their door, now using the names of the Secretary of State, the Department of Defense Secretary, people with power, using them in their threats of pressure, coercion to get them to allow them into the buildings. So, but the Institute of Peace still said no. So they have, the story just gets worse because basically the Institute of Peace had a private security firm called Intercon, but the Institute of Peace was worried that Intercon was going to be used by DOGE or the FBI in order to coerce their entry. So they suspended them. They suspended the contract. USIP suspended the contract with this security firm. Well, it turns out to be a good idea because on Monday, March 17th, so this started on Friday, now we're here through the weekend, 4 employees of Intercon arrived at USIP headquarters. Their badges had been deactivated due to the suspension of the Intercon contract, but these formally contracted security personnel gained access to USIP's headquarters when a 5th employee arrived with a physical key that had not yet been restored to USIP's custody. This is all in the 100-page judge's order. The level that they went to, the lawlessness they went to in order to gain access to this building is stunning. The Intercon staff, once they gained access with that physical key that they had not turned in, then proceeded to go to the USIP's arms room, where USIP's firearms are stored. This, again, is happening regarding the Peace Institute. The irony is unreal. So what happened then was, they said in this order, fearing a violent standoff, O'Brien, the chief security officer, and another initiated a building lockdown and called the DC Metropolitan Police Department to report the trespass. But evidently what happened when the Metropolitan Police Department arrived and went through the doors, they also allowed in DOGE officials to enter the building behind them. So DOGE officials finally actually went through the doors. So instead, the Metropolitan Police Department ended up escorting the security official, O'Brien, and others out of the building without allowing them to retrieve their belongings. And while waiting outside, according to this order, it says O'Brien was informed that the FBI was en route, and he observed 2 diplomatic security officers from the Department of State arrive and enter the building. He then observed MPD retrieve lock-picking equipment from a vehicle and gain entrance through a building on Constitution Avenue. So this is them getting access. And according to the order from the judge, what happened was 2 days later, DOGE officials were able to access USIP computer systems through USIP IT personnel, and then attempted to cut off personnel access to funds and were suspected of dumping financial records into shred bins. DOGE officials proceeded to strip USIP logos and monikers from the walls inside of the building. The lawlessness that occurred at this Institute of Peace, not only were DOGE officials not willing to accept the legal advice that they had zero jurisdiction on it, the threats that were made to the USIP employees regarding criminal investigation, the use of the weaponization of the power of all these departments, and the use of all of these local and federal law enforcement is stunning. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Be sure to free subscribe. We will keep you updated on this story and the many others.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.